Hey everybody, Bill Caskey, back at the Bill Caskey podcast. If you listen to this on Spotify or iTunes and want to see it live, no problem. Go to the Bill Caskey YouTube channel. You can see it. I don't know why you'd want to look at me, but maybe you do. I've been promising this for a while where we take questions. And if you have a question you'd like me to address in subsequent episodes, if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you're notified, but also put in the comment section if you have a question. If you're a sales manager, a CEO, a salesperson, I'll be happy to take them. If you're watching it on LinkedIn, do the same. So here are 4 questions that I've received in the past week to 10 days. Some of these come from clients, some of them come from listeners and viewers. So here's number 1. How do I fire up my sales team? I'm presuming this is a sales manager. They seem to be lethargic about new business development. Well, we've talked about this quite a bit, but if you're one of those who maybe is lethargic and maybe you just don't like the process of business development, I would say reinvent yourself or reinvent your team. Business development and lead generation is one of those things that almost every company struggles with. And I'm working with a client right now, and what I've recommended to them is you've got to change up the process a little bit. So they go through this process where they reach out to people and people either want to talk or they don't. But I said, you need to have something in the interim, something that is interesting and unique. Maybe it's an online video event. Maybe it's a webinar, whatever you want to call it. But something that keeps things happening in the meantime. So if you reach out to somebody and they're not interested, you've got to have a place to put them. And I think that takes a lot of the pressure off the sales team. I think you win more when you're giving out really good content, whether, again, through a webinar or through a video series. But I think we've got to change cold calling and change lead generation. I did a webinar here a few months ago, 21 lead generation strategies. And you've got a lot of them in your business. You just don't use them. So I would say to the VP of sales, you've got to reinvent your team and stop doing the same old stuff that stopped working actually a couple of years ago. But for some reason, we just keep hammering cold calls, networking, referrals. Those are all good, but there's a lot of different ways to do it now. Number 2, how do I not get attached to big deals? How do I not get attached to big deals? This came from one of my clients who sells massive consulting projects to large companies. And what happens is they are detached at the very beginning, but the more the customer or prospect sucks them into the process, the more attached they get, and the more they try to put their best foot forward and do all the things that are required to close the business. Here's the deal on detachment. I don't think being attached to a big deal helps you or the prospect, because I think it inhibits you from saying what needs to be said, from doing what needs to be done. So you've got to, I've got another question here about how to practice detachment, but you've got to detach from those big deals because it's not helpful to you. It's not a good strategy. Being hungry, and I know you're hungry, and I know you've been taught to grind and have ambition and be eager and be enthusiastic and don't let anybody get away. Okay, but that's a losing mentality. I think if you shore up your sales process and get really clear in the front part of the sales process about how to find the problem, how to denominate the problem, then I think you get a lot more detached, a lot less attached to the deal as it goes on. So I think the way you don't get attached to big deals is you get your process better up front. And I see a lot of times people don't get their process better, and then they get to the 11th hour and they're hungry and they're trying all these closing moves. It just doesn't work. Number 3, these are questions, by the way, that came from listeners, comments, and viewers. How do I get my mind right about detachment? Well, here's a secret to detachment, is when you have a big deal that's in the works and you're pursuing, a lot of times we become so attentive to that deal, we forget all the other things going on in our business life. If you get attached to a deal, it's probably because you aren't doing the things necessary to have other deals come your way. You're not making the calls. You're not networking. You're not putting out really good quality content. And so if you take it that one thing I would say is I don't care how much is in your funnel, because the prospect doesn't know how much is in your funnel unless you're showing them your funnel, which I probably would not do. I don't care how much is in your funnel. It pays to be detached from the outcome. But let's say you can't get there. Let's say you can't mentally and emotionally just get there. Then you've got to fill your funnel so that one deal isn't the end all be all, is going to either make or break your year. I hear this a lot. Man, if I get this deal, it's going to make my year. Well, that's terrible thinking, because now guess what? You're attached. You're a hostage. You're a hostage to the prospect. You're a hostage to maybe even your managers and maybe yourself too. So look at the broader picture. Look at all the different things you have going in your business and let that be the thing you focus on, not just this one deal. Question number 4 that came from an audience member: how do I generate leads in a micro niche market? I don't know what micro niche means. I presume it means very small. The word micro was the big clue that I had there. I think we've all got to do a better job of saying, what is the pain or the aspiration that micro niche market really wants a solution to? So write down 5 problems that your micro niche market has. Write down 5 aspirations that people in that market have as well, and start creating content around those things. Because when you create, let's say that you're in a accounting, you're selling to accounting practices and you're selling software. What are the problems that them not having software creates for them? What are the problems? What does the typical accountant or accounting agency or company firm aspire to? What do they want that you can help them get? And if you create 5 questions, 5 aspirations and 5 problems, you will have 10 pieces of content there that you can really focus your micro niche on. Because a micro niche, I assume, again, means a very narrow look at your market. They have problems. Just because there's not a million of them doesn't mean they don't have problems. So I would say you've got to do the same thing with the micro niche you do for anybody. What are the problems they have, and what are the aspirations they have? If you'd like more information on what we do, go to BillCaskey.com. At the very top banner there is a opt-in for a wait list that we're doing the High Achiever Mentoring Program. If you are giving some thought to being in a group coaching program, we'd love to talk to you about ours. It starts here in the next month or so. So make sure you go to the BillCaskey.com and put in your name. There's no obligation if you put in your name. We're not going to ask you to pay or anything, but it'll give you a chance to be invited to a webinar when we do those. So BillCaskey.com. Once again, leave your comments below. If you have any questions, make sure you put those in the fields below, and I will take them up in the next podcast. See ya. Bye.